In this April 27, 2016, file photo, former U.S. House Speaker Dennis Hastert departs the federal courthouse in Chicago after his sentencing on federal banking charges. A federal judge Tuesday ordered tightened restrictions on former U.S. House Speaker Dennis Hastert, including barring him from possessing pornography, using sex chat lines, or having any contact with minors except in the presence of an adult who is aware of his sexual abuse of boys decades ago. The order from U.S. District Judge Thomas Durkin came a day after the probation department submitted a report submitted in court under seal. Although the reason for the tightened restrictions were not spelled out, Hastert has been undergoing a court-ordered sex offender evaluation, including any psychological and physiological testing deemed necessary to expose any undisclosed wrongdoing and gauge whether he's a danger to society. Under the new terms of his release, Hastert, 75, was ordered not to possess any pornographic, sexually oriented, or sexually stimulating materials, including visual, auditory, telephonic, or electronic media, computer programs, or services, and also barred from patronizing any businesses where such material was available. Any sex-related telephone numbers were also off-limits. According to the order also barred Hastert from having contact with anyone under 18 except in the presence of a responsible adult who is aware of the nature of her background and current offense. He was also instructed to provide copies of telephone bills, credit card receipts, or other financial information to probation officials at their request. A spokesman for U.S. Attorney John Lausch had no comment Tuesday. Hastert's attorney, Thomas Green, could not be reached, but the judge's order indicated that Hastert agreed to the new conditions. Hastert was released in July from a federal prison in Minnesota after serving nearly 13 months of his 15-month sentence for violating banking regulations to cover up the sexual abuse of teenage boys when he was a wrestling coach at Yorkville High School. Before his sentencing, a probation official wrote in a 6-page recommendation submitted to the court that while there was no evidence Hastert had committed any sexual misconduct since 1979, there was concern he may be concealing other wrongdoing in his past. The probation report also speculated that Hastert's international travel could have allowed him to anonymously engage in sexual misconduct overseas. That report convinced the judge to order that Hastert undergo a sex offender evaluation as part of his 2-year term of supervised release following prison. Such evaluations can range from routine to invasive. One measure suggested for Hastert by a probation official was a polygraph exam to determine whether he's lying about how many people he's victimized and whether any abuse has occurred recently, court records show. Other tests commonly used in Illinois include the penile plethysmograph, also known as the PPG, and the ABLE assessment for sexual interest. The PPG involves hooking up a man to a pressure-sensitive device to measure any arousal when shown various images. The ABLE test gauges a subject's visual reaction time to slides of people in various states of undress. In Tuesday's order, Durkin said Hastert must get approval from the probation department before accessing any device with internet access, including email. He must also consent at his cost to software being installed on his computers that monitors all keystrokes and chat conversations. Hastert pleaded guilty in October 2015 to one count of illegally structuring $950,000 in bank withdrawals to avoid reporting requirements. He admitted in a plea deal with prosecutors he was making the withdrawals to pay a longtime acquaintance, identified in court records only as Individual A, to hide wrongdoing from his past. The case began to unfold 4 years ago after a Yorkville bank noticed the suspicious withdrawals. after he was told by bank officials that any withdrawals of $10,000 or more had to be reported to regulators. Hastert began to withdraw cash in $9,000 increments. In all, he took out $1.7 million over 4.5 years, paying individual A in increments of up to $100 in meetings at a Yorkville restaurant parking lot, prosecutors said. In December 2014, FBI agents confronted Hastert about the withdrawals. He told them he was trying to keep his money safe. But shortly after that meeting, an attorney representing Hastert called authorities to say the former speaker was a victim of an extortion plot and would cooperate in the investigation. Agents ultimately determined, however, that Hastert had been paying individual A former Yorkville wrestler, to keep him silent about the sexual abuse decades earlier. In all, 5 former students came forward to accuse Hastert. Tribune reporters learned the identity of individual A in early 2016. He has repeatedly declined to comment, but his wife acknowledged her husband is a victim. He has since sued Hastert in a Kendall County breach of contract lawsuit, seeking the remaining $1.8 million, plus accrued interest, that he argues Hastert still owes him. That lawsuit is pending. Jay Meissner at Chicago Tribune. Twitter at Jameter22 related.